So this is the file that you sent me, and I can see how you're getting the gray around the perimeter of your file texture. Let's just graph the materials on the selected objects. What you did was you changed the default color of the projection to white, which is correct, but there's another default color in the file. So if I change that to white, that'll take care of that initial problem. To add a second layer or layered shader to this, you certainly can use a color mix node. You can also use a layered shader or a layered texture. Let me just show you what you need to do for the color mix. In the mental ray sample compositing data conversion, here's my MIB color mix. And you know, the MIA material has the shading group already connected to it. So this is where the association is being made between this shader and this object. You can see that there are actually three connections in the mental ray section. There's the material shader, the shadow shader, and the photon shader. That's just because of the complexity of the MIA material, but the one that we're concerned with is the material shader. So I'll just take this color mix node and drag that down, just like we did with the paint can. I'll drag that down and make that the material shader. Now I want the MIA material to be the color base, and your question was, you know, when we drag this onto the color base, we get the connection editor, and there are so many connections to choose from. Well, the MIA material is a very complex material, and it takes all these attributes into consideration when it decides on the color of any given pixel on a surface. So what we want to do is take the result of all of those calculations and use that as our color base. So scrolling down here on the left, you can see that you have something called result, and that's exactly what it is. It's all of those calculations, the you know, the specular highlight, the transparency, the refraction, the reflection, all of that calculates to this result. So I'll just map that to the color base. Now, in order to get this to render, I have to make a couple of adjustments. I have to turn the number to 1, which means that it's calculating the color base and color 0. So what I need to do is take the weight of color 0 and turn that to 0. So now when I render this, all I'm going to see is the base, which is the MIA material. Sorry, I have one more thing I need to do. For mode 0, I need that to be a mix, and that will render that. Okay, so now to add a second layer to this, I can create another MIA material here. So let's just take this material X, and I want to do the exact same thing. I want to add this to color 0. When I drag it on top, I get this connection editor. So I just want to create take the result and map that to color 0. Now here I can change the weight of color 0 to 1, and when I render this, everything that I see is color 0. It's completely masking the color base because I have the weight set to 1. So just like with the paint can, you can use a black and white map on this weight channel here to determine what you want to see and what you don't want to see. So just to demonstrate that, I'll just take a 2D checker texture, and I'll apply that to the weight of color 0. So now wherever this checker texture is black, my weight will be 0, and I'll see through it to the MIA material on the underside. And then wherever the checker texture is white, my weight will be 1, and I'll see the gray of my second layer. So that's what we see right there. So that gray would be sort of the, you know, where the honey is, and you know, that would be determined by the black and white pattern of whatever map you used here. Notice though that it's the alpha of the checker texture that gets mapped to the weight, and that may not be what you want. You may want to be using the color of, say, a JPEG that has no alpha. So you would probably want to create a utility node here. You'd want a luminance node, and you can drag your black and white map to the value of that luminance node. The luminance node, remember, takes those three values, the red, green, and blue, and it multiplies them together and comes out with one single grayscale value, which is what the weight here is expecting. So then you would just take this luminance node and drag that to the weight, and you'd get the same result. Of course, just like with the paint can, you'd want to use this kind of drippy texture, and you'd want to project it, just like you did with your bird image here. You'd want to project that texture the same way that we did the paint can. So that's the way that would be done.